What's up everyone, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I present to you an update to the tier list made by me, SaGa, in the community. Thanks so much SaGa, without you this would not be possible. Also, this update was just very hard and challenging for us, the hardest one so far. We just entered a new generation and characters are replacing old ones, and there were a lot of changes in the placements because of that. Also, this tier list is not perfect. Use this with care because some characters are damage dealers, supporters, defenders, and then some are used for boss fights, some are used for farming. It's hard to evaluate every character in the game, but we tried our best. Let's start talking about the Triple S tier. We still have kind of like the Trinity here with Matriarch 1 and Awal's Daughter, and then Final Impress. These are almost always useful in boss fights. We can actually use the skill from Matriarch in other versions by inheritance, but Peon of Victory is still considered the best skill in the game. Halloween Princess White Rose is now super useful in bosses, and because we got plenty of towers, she really shined here, and that's why boss specialists are now on a trend. There is Bunny still here, very powerful if you have all the inheritances, UDX Matriarch, and then Matriarch number 3. Then we have the new additions of Mariah, a character that helps you sustain in long fights, and she was super important when facing Ludwig and other hard challenges in the game, especially on World Tower. Genryu Snowy is surprised. He just made a lot of other fights easier. He does not really need inheritance for his passive style, but if you do have it, it's just amazing. Both Snowies are now very important in boss fights if you have them. Leon is still here because he's a buffer, but also a Steel Blade Light user, a very important skill in some defensive strategies. That is also the reason why Geddard is here. He also has a delay on turn 1 with Steel Blade Light. In Galaxy, a triple S AoE attack for turn 2, so that's pretty useful, but mostly because of Steel Blade Light. Then we still have Bertrand here, a very good farmer because of Abaddon Hands in Global, made him special. Rock Bouquet on the tops still got access to Dark Wash for Amplify, and she now can even debuff all status buffs from a boss. And then we have Gustave. This young Gustave is still here for a while. He will probably get a demotion, but turn 1 he still is very strong. There is Rofus and Rook, characters that are used mostly for farming, but when you need them, they shine. Then there's Shadowing, still very powerful unit for anything in the game. Then we added Rick. This got us into some discussion because we were supposed to upgrade Urpina, give her an eye, because Urpina with Crossbreak is very powerful on farming, but Rick is slash and heat, and he faces much less competition in this regard. For Urpina, we can use other characters too. There is Xenon for Sun, there is Emperor for Slash, there is also even Leon for Slash and Sun, and there are more characters that will come that can act similar to Urpina. But Rick now has Slash and Heat. He only has competition against Alosis, actually. I mean, for the most time. And then he has a fast attack in Global. He is now probably the best farmer after Bertrand and Saruin. Those characters will be used all the time. And then we still have Mirza here. He was essential to clearing some floors in the tower. Now we get to the double S tier list. This was very hard to manage because we needed to demote many units to justify some with higher power. And it's nice that we have now Witch's Daughter on the top. She's just so good because she's trying to emulate what you already have with Princess White Rose, but with some different mechanics. Very good character as well. Matcha was released, and she is such a good farmer and also boss specialist. She was also kind of part of the reason why we needed to demote Joe, because Bertrand now covers Joe, and there is also Rich, and he's better than Joe too. So these 3 characters will be used all the time for farming, but it's hard to just place one at the tops because they have similar power level. But Matcha has also utility in boss fights, while Urpina and Joe doesn't. You can use Urpina on raids and farming, but not on bosses, so that makes sense. There is also 2 defensive units that we wanted to have on the tops, but this is also something we discussed, that is Golden Ball and Zeke. Zeke will be important now if you have this version of Matriarch, because you'll be buffing Will and Dexterity, Love, and Charisma. So Zeke may be better than Empress in this situation. Empress has a shield that can be super valuable, but if you have a defensive formation with also Mariah, you will not need the shield. So Zeke will help you with damage to shorten the length of this fight. But we can also move him and Golden Ball closer to what UDX Rupina is. If you have some feedback on this, please say here in the comments. Also on any other character. We managed to place the newest Monica here, close to the tops. She's very useful for any type of content in the game too. Goddess is just such a strong character for farming and bossing, that's why she's also here. The same can be said for the new Alkaiser that finally makes martial arts units strong again. We felt that they were just getting weaker and weaker because of new formations that could benefit other different elements and weapon types. That's why Copelia and Red are now on this position. That's also some discussion to decrease them even further because of that. Sadly, they don't take as much bonus from formations than other characters like Gunners. They also do blunt damage. There is also the addition of Acelus, and she has some inheritance. With inheritance, she becomes a Swiss knife and can act for many different things, farming and bossing. May never be the best one in each thing that she does, but it's just such a valuable character. We added the newest version of Azami, Global X Azami. She may not do the damage that Rofus and Rook does, but she's also very good for farming and bossing, and she's still very high on the tier list. Remember this? We try to place them on the left to right position, but it may not be perfect. Then we got Elicit. She's just super strong, and we placed her here. Although she faced competition on Slash with lightning damage, she's very strong. There's the addition of Apollo, and Apollo has a very similar design to this version of Barthélemy, although Barthélemy is a little better, but does not have access to such status elements like Paralyze that Apollo can. They are pretty similar and will be used in different type of content. And that's also Iskander, similar design, very powerful units that can be used in farming and bossing. That adds a lot of value to this. Then let's move on, and we got a new version of Emilia that does not replace the other ones. That is funny. She may be the best one of them if you can inherit stuff, but she does not really replace them. She brings an AoE, very small heal, very similar to the one that Golden Ball has or the one that this Snowy has, and because she can attack almost all the time with AoE or single target, it's very strong. There is also the addition of Young Boy on this position. He's a very powerful character that can sometimes outclass Mei-Ling, but with only RNG. That's why he didn't deserve such a high placement. Then we updated Time Lord because he was also very useful in Tower. He is even a little more useful than Death because of manipulation of agility buff that always lands. Very hard challenges benefits of Time Lord. He can be used in boss fights while you hardly ever use Death since shadow damage is resisted. Then he's mostly used for enemy clearing. And then you see that Mei-Ling is here. There was some discussion on Mei-Ling because she actually is a replacement for Halloween Princess White Rose for some people that didn't have access to. She doesn't have the wheel buff, of course, but she can use it for agility buff and heal if you want. But she cannot beat Witch's Daughter, that is the best character of the bunch. Then we have Blue and Rouge. They are very similar in power levels. I think that Rouge is better in longer fights. In turn 1 they are comparable. The newest version of Joe does insane damage, but after turn 1 not so good. Tukwai has a fast attack in global, very strong, has a counter, but I guess this point is good. Just the same as the second Bertrand, because this one also has a guarantee slash counter, and also helped this other Bertrand become even better. Not that he needs, but yeah. Then we got both Cordelia and the Bellstern together, because these characters are very similar. They have very good and perfect single target and AoE cycles. This guy starts with a lot of damage and then he can just keep cycling, buffing itself. For longer fights he can even beat Compelia, but for shorter fights Cordelia beats. Young Zeno is here. I think that he's pretty similar to Mikhail. Has the extra stun damage, but for long fights I prefer Mikhail. Minerva stayed here. These attackers stayed. We got a demotion to some, like we demoted Jamil and the original UDX Claudia, because we just have too many slash and pierce damage dealers now. The same can be said by Ferdinand. It takes some time to start building up, but eventually he's still a powerful character for bossing, but I think the other options are now a little more useful because they also act well in farming, so that's why they stayed. That's why Minerva is still useful a lot of time. Then 8 are pretty similar, and that is just most of the pierce damage we have besides Claudia. New Virgil is a character that added new mechanics with counter and plus BP to the party, but Virgil is pretty situational. I don't think that he needs to be staying very high on the tier list. Laura is strong. We also placed her alongside Forneo since harder challenges and boss fights are more frequent now with tower and such. So they actually have each other different ways to act, but are pretty similar value, to be honest. There is also promotion to Arluge. This guy was very useful in tower because of the passive that decreases will and agility. I actually think it's much better than I thought because, well, sometimes you need to apply status elements on turn 1, so that increase helps. Well, we also have Ildon that was added in this position, pretty close to the newest will. Some people may not like him too much, but he buffs his intelligence in the STR, so he gets more and more damage going for boss fights. He can be a very good dexterity buffer. We don't have many, so one that can act as the buffer and damage dealer really helps. Then we have a new Selma, very close to healed. I think they have similar value. She can be very strong, but can also lose most of the passives while attacking. There is also Ruby alongside Wicked Witch. They got a little from promotion, but not much. They are very useful in tower, but not so much besides. Ruby may be even better than Wicked Witch depending on what you want, but they are pretty similar value and very worth. Also another character surprised me. I couldn't summon because I have to skip some banners, but helped many people on the tower. There's the addition of Sarah. This Sarah is good because she can debuff dexterity and paralyze from afar with indirect attacks. Yeah, for paralyze we have plenty, but not for dexterity buff besides, building. They can do it. And also Heaven's Breeze from UDX Dahao, but she can do it as well, and some people may miss, and she helps. We still have Evelyn with a high regard because she can use Horror with a very good chance, although it should be better with Wicked Witch since she can stack more and more intelligence buffs, but she's still here as a useful unit, right beside the newest Genie. The newest Genie has a very good intelligence and STR debuff, so I like her. She has a good cycle, a very important unit. Mac is still here because he does a lot of damage and can act for 3 different elements. We discussed it about demoting him. We did demote Summer Silver, that we find very hard to use these days, although she's still we're trying to find here because I think it's hard to justify using her as much since she doesn't have a follow-up. That's the same case with Mac, to be honest, but Mac can be placed on dexterity where we don't have that many fast attackers as we have for STR, for example. So we thought that he can still use it in bossing if you want, although not the best. There was more reason to have him on double S than Summer Silver. The newest creator is here because he's a very good confusion bot. May not have the best damage for farming because, yeah, we have so many powerful units this time, but he's right beside the UDX Queen, another character that is actually a lightning specialist. Right close to Assault, that is a will debuffer, and UDX Dahao. Now we talk about Barbara. This version of Barbara is the Global X one that is actually not bad. She has a lot of resources. I think that it's the case where sometimes she may not be the best one on using them, but she's the best version of Barbara. She can just increase her damage output if you want to rush for damage. Instead of bringing one damage dealer, you bring Barbara to increase the damage of other ones. It's a very nice strategy, although not always the best, and she can also remove buffs from bosses. We demoted a little this version of Liz because she is really not essential or reliable. Skya is here for a while. I'd suggest that in the future she'll get a demotion. She has an interesting design, but also brings some problems to the table. doesn't have a better cycle than other options that we have. This new Genryu is right here. This has some problems with cycle without inheritance. If you have inheritance, he's just a better version of this Genryu, but without it, he's a little restricted. We also have this actor. Actor tries to do something similar to what Scanner does, but defensively, and very replaceable to be honest, but still deserves to be a double S grade. Apollo, it's something that you need for the newest one, but without it, he's down there, still useful for tower because of status elements, just like Princess Ray. We have Elizabeth here because she's one of the few club users that has high damage potential, and that's why she's here. Ventus is unreliable, and he didn't deserve a higher grade, cannot do very high damage on turn 1, so that's why down here. Mirza got a little demotion too, another character that has a lot of potential, but he's hardly used it because of limitations. Can only be strong on turn 2, and sometimes there's like 2 months of events that don't benefit him and we forget about him for a while. There is also the addition of Vampire Lady that can clean the buffs from bosses, but we only used that so far in the Ludwig fight, and she has some problems with cycles and everything. Still a useful character, but nothing so special. We also upgraded Asilus because she's still kind of useful and was used in tower for some people because of that intelligence debuff, still being reliable, but kind of requires Mirage Step. Without it, she would not be placed here. Other characters that got used in tower was Martaria because of Petrify, still the best Petrify Inflictor. Genie gets close, but still cannot beat Taria. An old character has the best Petrify chance. Jorg was updated as well because Scrum Guard is super good when you're facing bosses, just like why Zeke is here, also why Embrace is here, also because of the shoot. But yeah, Scrum Guard is one of the best passives for defensive strategies. It makes the normal tanks from the launch of the game less interesting. And we added the Valentine Princess White Rose to the end of the tier list because she's now only an inheritance bot. She just misses. If you bring her to boss, I try it and she just misses. And even Halloween Princess White Rose can miss. Imagine the Valentine version that had very terrible intelligence and agility. This covers the double S grade, and I think I cover all new styles. I just have to talk a little more about the S. And this one will face some changes in the upcoming days. We are still debating, it's not final. We got this character here, we are still discussing if he's a double S character or not. Strumning is powerful and he requires some build up, but can be a key character for when you are facing multiple enemies. We then moted a lot of characters like Leonard was still here. Albert changed placement because we reached the end of Joe's storyline. We will have to wait at least 3 months to get new stories, and Albert is actually made for story farming, and for 3 months no story mode means Albert will just be used for damage if you really need, and he's not so good for that. That's why he got a demotion. The same can be said for this version of Rock Bouquet. That's still good, just not so prime anymore. There are other characters that do shadow or lightning damage better. The same can be said by Torpid, a character that just makes other people stronger, but he himself is not so quite. We also demoted Gray and some other characters like Gwen and Avi. Princess Lion was already here. We demoted this Bunny that without inheritance is not so good, but with inheritance is good, but only for 1 turn. Besides that, not so much. And I guess that covers most of the changes, and we'll still be making some slight changes, but this is actually most of the final results. And if you have some opinion, please use the comment sections. We will take everything into considerations. Like I said, this is not perfect. We're trying to make our best, but this is not yet a roll tier list. We're still trying to make one, but we couldn't yet. But we will try in the future. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links on the description. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.